For Freddie, he becomes a symbol of what needs to take place in terms of the transition that police departments ought to be making. And one of the things I continue to advocate for is that we do psychological testing on these police officers who are in the streets, who become insensitized to our community and prejudge people in our neighborhoods, because we can't have these kinds of things continuing. And, you know, again, this is just systemic of issues around the nation. And when you look in these communities, you can't prejudge the people, because I heard a gentleman on the air earlier talking about folks in the ghetto. You can't prejudge people because they live in a certain area. That does not mean that they're unlawful people.
Quickly, Sonny, a quick answer here. Was it too fast? I mean, there have been such a message of patience over the last few days. There will be people who said, well, hang on, if we were supposed to wait and let the process work its course, did she come to this decision too quickly?
No, I don't think so. And certainly people are going to say that, and they're going to be critical. It is very clear that she conducted an independent investigation, and her investigation was confirmed by the police department investigation, and she also has the report from the medical examiner. As a prosecutor, I often wonder why it takes months and months and months to come to a conclusion. If you are a good prosecutor, if you have a thorough investigation, and if you also trust your investigators, there is no need to have several months long investigation. I think if you look at the South Carolina case, that officer was charged very, very quickly.
All right, I want to get some reaction from the law enforcement community. Kate Baldwin is in New York for that. Kate.
John, thank you so much. We're going to continue our breaking news coverage and continue this conversation. Let me bring in our players, our analysts, our experts who we're going to be discussing this with. Here with me in studio, Mel Robbins, CNN legal analyst, as well as Tom Verney, former NYPD detective. Tom Fuentes is joining us from Washington, our CNN law enforcement analyst and former FBI assistant director. And I believe we also have Mark Lamont Hill, a CNN political commentator, host of HuffPost Live, joining us from Los Angeles. A lot to digest, everyone. Let's take this piece by piece. Mel, first to you. We've had the opportunity, while in that press conference, it came out quick, fast, and surprising, these charges against these officers. We've had a second, at least, to digest what they're now charged with. Let's talk about the most damning, the most serious of these charges and what that means. This most serious charge, as you've been telling me, is against Officer Goodson, the driver of the police van. Second-degree depraved murder. What does that mean?
Well, let's back it up just a minute and kind of put it all in context. Basically, what you typically have in every single state are first-degree murder, which means I intended to kill you, I planned it. That's usually, the most serious. Then you step it down a little bit. And interestingly, in Maryland, the way they define second-degree murder is they say it's when you're responsible for the murder of somebody else, but it's not first degree. So you didn't necessarily intend on it. You didn't pre-plan it. What you need to prove in this particular case is the fact, and she talked about it a lot, gross negligence, recklessness. His behavior was the direct result of Freddie Gray's death. This wasn't a heat of the passion kind of struggle. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional actions on this officer's part that resulted in gross negligence that was the direct cause of Freddie Gray's death. This is a very serious charge, and he could be sentenced, if convicted, to 30 years in prison.
And some of the quotes I remember hearing from the prosecutor: grossly negligent manner in how they handled Freddie Gray, no effort to assess his condition, no medical assistance rendered by any officer at any time. A lot of this now, Tom, focuses squarely on what happened in that police van. The prosecutor said several times that they didn't do really anything to try to help this man when he was injured, even saying that they failed to put him in a seatbelt for at least the 5th time. And we're talking about Officer Goodson. Let's focus in on that for you. Police protocol. They were supposed to put him in a seatbelt. We heard that from the police commissioner. That was already wrong. What is your reaction when you hear how this prosecutor has laid out what happened? She says that his injury, his fatal injury, was the result of being handcuffed, shackled, and unsecured by a seatbelt while in this police van.
Well, we knew early on that the officers clearly didn't follow protocol by seatbelting him in the back of the van. We knew that early on. We knew that there was some sort of an injury that took place probably as a result of that. So this just corroborates a lot of what we already knew. So the officers, at the minimum, because they didn't seatbelt him in and because they didn't get him medical attention in a timely manner, at the minimum, we're going to be facing departmental charges, if not criminal charges, because of that, right? So this now confirms that. But now we're also hearing about the fact that the actions of the officers have actually risen to having probable cause to arrest each and every one of them, and that's a problem. That, you know, we already had a situation here where the community already has this perception about the police that they are doing things illegally. But having said that, let's remember that the prosecutor is able to make these charges because of the investigation done by the Baltimore Police Department. So let's keep that in perspective.
And by her office. I mean, she was stunning in marching through. And that was the thing that was so surprising about this press conference is when can you ever remember seeing a prosecutor come out before a grand jury, before actually arresting the officers?
Because she had other options.
She did. But, you know, I think she handled this brilliantly because she literally let an avalanche of evidence and a very specific timeline. And we talked only about the second-degree murder, but the driver is also charged with two statutes that involve the driving of the van. There is a statute in Maryland, manslaughter by vehicle. That carries 10 years in prison, and they have to prove that he was grossly negligent in the way he operated the vehicle. They've also charged him with criminally negligent manslaughter, which is a different standard. It's a little lower. It's not gross negligence. It's whether or not he deviated from the standard practice of the police, which she clearly outlined in her indictment of these guys during the press conference and the sergeant. She also charged the sergeant. There was a moment in that press conference, and this is the moment that I leaned forward and said, oh my God, where she says that the officer, Sergeant Alicia White, is accused of opening up the back of that door. Now, this is in like the third or fourth stop. This is the stop that she was talking about where he was unresponsive at that time, and she even put her hand on his head, and he was unresponsive, and they did not call for any medical attention. She has been charged with involuntary manslaughter, which is a gross negligence standard and carries 10 years in prison. And so those are the top line charges. The second-degree murder charge on the driver, the involuntary manslaughter charges related to the vehicle, and the involuntary manslaughter charges related to the conduct of three of these officers.
Amazing charges. A bombshell coming out from Baltimore from this city prosecutor. Let's get back to the ground. John Berman's on the ground really dissecting and trying to digest, as we all are, what we just learned. Just amazing the amount of detail that this prosecutor went into.
Thanks so much, Kate. You know, the state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, announcing just moments ago to the youth of this city, I will seek justice on your behalf, and announcing a range of charges against 6 police officers, the highest being against Officer Caesar Goodson, the driver of that police van, who will be charged with second-degree depraved heart murder. Other officers will face involuntary manslaughter charges that deal with the issue of negligence as well. There's a tremendous amount of activity around here, both law enforcement and people just on the streets learning this information. A man with bullhorn not far from me chanting right now as well. I'm joined by CNN legal analyst Sunny Hostin here with me in front of City Hall. And Sunny, help me understand what second-degree depraved heart murder is. That is what the officer who was driving the truck will be charged with.
Yeah, I'm looking at the charges and the charging documents now, and it's really interesting because second-degree depraved heart murder, the difference between second-degree murder and manslaughter is intent. And so the state's attorney's office is charging Caesar with intentionally murdering or killing Mr. Gray. That's difficult to prove.
It will be difficult to prove, and that is the most extreme charge. And there are a range of lesser charges that also carry serious jail time, up to 10 years or more. Sunny, hang on one second. I want to go to Renee Marsh right now, who I believe is on the streets and has someone with her for some reaction. Renee.
Well, I want to tell you that when we're in this intersection, from time to time, you're going to hear horns beeping, and that's what we've been hearing. People approving what they heard the state attorney say. One of the people out here who we know approves, Stephanie, come on in. I know you live in the area. Your initial reaction when you heard that all 6 officers, there is probable cause to charge them?
I was so happy. Tears of joy. That's what it is. Tears of joy. To see the city come together as one, and they came to actually get these 6 police at peace.
At any point did you doubt that this would be the announcement that would be made by the state attorney's office?
did.
Tell me about that.
I did. I didn't think the police were going to actually get what I thought it was going to be swept beneath the carpet like they always have been. And now justice has revealed. I'm happy. I'm very happy. You just don't know.
Now, we know that she says that she found probable cause to charge. Is your optimism equally as high that after the trial, they will be found guilty of those charges?
I believe, yeah, because you know why everybody beat these police up or did what they did to these police. We wouldn't even came this far.
All right, well, Stephanie, thank you so much. And again, Bourbon, I know you heard in the background there, and from time to time, all that beeping, people are happy to hear at least the first step here in which the state attorney has announced that there's enough probable cause to charge these 6 officers. John?
Renee, it was so interesting. You asked your guest if they expected this to happen. I was at an intersection not too far from where you were yesterday talking to a bunch of young here, and they absolutely did not expect this, and they certainly did not expect it soon. They are under the belief here, many people of the system is rigged against them, and they were saying that if it had been them, charges would have already been filed. You hear that so much on the streets. If this were me, charges would already be filed. Now they have been filed. So Renee, I'm wondering if you can show me the scene a little bit from where you are. I know law enforcement really started ramping up in the minutes before the state attorney's press conference. They obviously knew what was going on. They increased the security presence. Show me what's around you in terms of both security and in terms of the population on the streets.
Well, if you look just across the street here, and of course it's an intersection, so it may be difficult, but you'll see there is still a presence, but the shields are up. They look like they're in a much more relaxed mode, and I'm going to have my photographer just kind of turn a little bit more to your left so you can see the presence here to the left. So they are still here. However, they look a bit relaxed here. We also saw a couple of the members from the National Guard. They did leave shortly after. But again, there's still a presence here. I have to tell you, though, John, I spoke with another young man who said to me, look, this is great news. He was surprised at the fact that the state attorney announced that there is enough probable cause to charge these individuals. But he, unlike Stephanie we just heard from, he's not optimistic that in the end, see, take a listen. You hear that? That's what we hear in the intersection. And that's what we've been seeing minute after minute as the cars come through, because people are just excited. And many of them that I spoke to said they just did not expect this. They said, and in the words of a young man I just spoke to about 5 minutes ago, he expected the story to play out like how it's played out before, many times before, in which they did not think any charges or any probable cause would be filed against these officers. So they feel a bit victorious out here, but then there's the second half, and you can see they're in the middle there. Wait. Introduce you to somebody here because I saw this woman right across the street. You were very energetic. What is your first name?
My name is Lisa. My last name is Mills, and I am totally excited. This is a statement not just for Baltimore, but for the United States of America. And I want to tell you, we got good police officers, and it's just those few bad officers. We don't want them here. We don't want them disrespecting the name of our police department. Okay? I'm so excited. excited. It's tremendous.
I've been asking everybody this question. I mean, are you surprised at what the state attorney announced? Did you expect that this is what she was going to say?
Of course not. I'm not surprised at all. It was obvious just by the small amount of footage that we have seen so far that the police did not follow the orders the way that they should have. They did not follow procedures. They did not follow procedures. They did not.
Thank you so much.
Yes! Yes!
And if you look at this man, he's gotten very emotional here, John.
What you do, man? They go home. Get him out of here. We gave our lives for this country. And look at you. Is this what it's coming to, man? I love this fucking country too, just as much as you do. We fighting for a reason, man. I was willing to give my life for this country, man. Look at this community now, man. You're the same people I went to war with. Oh man.
You tell me. I see that you're very emotional. You're very emotional. Tell me and explain to me where that's coming from.
This is crazy, man. They talking about we part of this country, man. How can we be? How can we be part of this country? Look at this, man.
But the state attorney just announced there's...
I heard that. I heard all that. It's the same shit. Just a different time. See,
you don't believe charges in the end?
They will anything until I see the end result. We got to stop being pacified. Every time they throw us a bone, they want us to calm down, man. We need to wait till the end result come in, man. But look, I was willing to give my life for this country. Look at my community, man. Look around here. The same people who we go to war with coming to war on us. When I was in the Marine Corps, they called me a patriot, a Marine. But now that I'm fighting for my people, they call me a fucking thug. No, I'm not sweetening nothing up. They call me a thug when I fight for my people.
So it sounds like you're not satisfied with the state attorney's announcement.
Look around. Would you be satisfied? Look around right here. Would you be satisfied with this if it was your community? And I don't even live around here.
You don't?
I live in Belvedere Square.
You need to go to Belvedere Square.
No, these man. My people. No, you don't tell me where to go, man. I have family. I have family here.
Man, I'm a victim and everything else.
I'm a victim as well.
You been beat?
You want me to show you how many times?
All right.
You want to show me how many times? No, man. This ain't about you and I, man.
It ain't.
Then look around there.
It's all peace and loving everybody, man.
All right, John, so you can see there's a combination of emotions here. People who are happy with the verdict of what the state attorney had to say, and some people who are just not satisfied because this is just the beginning. Obviously, this has not gone to trial yet. But in this intersection, a mix of emotions at this point.
That's a great way to put it, Renee. A mix of emotions. There's a palpable buzz here right now in Baltimore, and it's not just the helicopters that are all flying overhead to get the aerial images on the streets. There are people with bullhorns. There are people with whistles. There are people honking their car horns as they drive, and they are learning this news that charges will be filed against 6 police officers in the death of Freddie Gray, ranging all the way to second-degree depraved heart murder against Officer Caesar Goodson. He was the officer driving the van when Freddie Gray, so says the state's prosecutor, banged his head or had his head banged up against the back of that van, causing that spinal cord injury, which ultimately led to his death. I'm joined right now by Bishop Walter Scott Thomas, the preacher at the New Psalmist Baptist Church. It is one of the largest churches here, I believe, in the city of Baltimore. And I have to say, and this is so important, over the last several days, there has been so much work in this community to keep things calm and to keep things peaceful. We've seen it from the clergy. We've seen it from elected officials. We've seen it from law enforcement as well, and it has largely been successful since the riot broke out on Monday. What do you think the reaction will be today as we go forward, and what do you intend to bring to the community as a message?
I think this is one of the most positive days we've seen in my lifetime. I think the community is going to be excited by this news. From the young people on up, there will be those who will have expected more, But the reason they will expect more is because the problems are so great. But for the majority of persons in this city, this is an unbelievable and unprecedented activity. The state's attorney charged people today, and that was not something anyone was expecting.
I think you're right. And we're also here with legal analyst Sonny Hostin. I should say, I've been out there talking to the same people you have. And no, people certainly did not expect this, at least not today. They did not expect it. We heard a man talking to Renee Marsh, a very frustrated man who still doesn't trust the system. But this is the legal process at work, working the way that I know people in the clergy here have been frustrated that it hasn't been working in the past. Look, these officers may not be convicted. They'll face a jury.
But they started. The process has started. It was, to be very candid with you, we were very nervous Wednesday night. Wednesday night, we were afraid it was going to be bad today. So the pastors do what pastors do. We called the city to pray. And we called all of our friends across the country. We had a prayer network going from Alaska to California to Florida to Maine and everything in between. Churches everywhere at 7 o'clock last night praying, because we were worried about what would happen. And we asked God. That's what we do. We work in community, but we serve God. And we knew that only God could fix the problem here. Did we expect something this monumental? No. Did we expect to hear the state's attorney give down indictments? No. But are we excited about it? Absolutely. This calms a lot in our city. Our young people have never seen a victory. Many of them who we see are 17 and 18, they came to their teenage years with Trayvon Martin. They've seen one defeat, and they've seen one person after another killed, and nothing happened.
You call this a victory. I want to make clear. You're not calling the riots, the violence that broke out on Monday a victory. No, the victory is in the work that was done since then. The victory is in the process here in the city of Baltimore with elected officials, with this 35-year-old elected state's attorney who's following the law, correct?
You see, the process gets the victory today. All of us tell young people and tell everybody, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. They throw back in our faces, you can't trust the process. And today we saw it work.
And I want to say also that I've been speaking to a lot of young people since I've been here back in Baltimore, and many young people were believing that these officers would not be charged, that they had no belief in the justice system. And as a prosecutor, as a lawyer, that was so hurtful to me. And they were saying our lives don't matter. So Freddie Gray's life won't matter. I think with this prosecutor coming forward and indicting the officers, even if there isn't a conviction, the notion now is that his life mattered enough for these officers to be held accountable and for the process to begin.
And that's the key, for the process to begin. We've never seen the process begin. And now we get to see it begin. Our youngsters, this is new to them. I mean, it's going to take them a while to digest what this even means. And they will now watch what the process looks like, how it goes step by step. They will learn. I'm 65. I was alive and a teenager. I was in college when the riots hit Baltimore in '68. When we were the ones saying Black lives didn't matter. I was in college. I wasn't in Baltimore. But we were the generation of Franz Fanon, Soul on Ice, when we were saying Black lives don't matter.
You're 65 years old. First of all, you look much younger than that. Let's stipulate that, first of all. But you've seen a lot. I have to say, to me, you seem very surprised today. You seem flat out stunned by what happened today.
Yes.
What made the difference?
I'm a pastor and a preacher, dog. I have to give credit to God. What else can you give credit to for this? No station was reporting before she spoke. In fact, I had CNN in my ear while I was standing down there with just 7-second delay. And I had heard the person talk about downplaying expectations, which was the normal and the right thing to do. No one expected this. This is such a blast out of the unusual that you have to credit it to someone who has unusual power.
Bishop Sonny, stand by for a minute again. The news out of Baltimore today, charges being filed against 6 police officers. Now the death of Freddie Gray deemed a homicide. Very emotional time here in this city, and as we've been on the air for the last few minutes, you have heard some language, some salty language. You know what? It's understandable at times like this. We're sorry that it got on the air, but there are bigger things at play here than some swear words. We have much more coverage to come from Baltimore.